That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday, everybody. Miracle Morning Sunday. Welcome, welcome. And let's start by really setting an intention and grounding ourselves into this call, inviting the Holy Spirit into this conversation here with us this morning. And so you can join me with your eyes closed or open, doesn't matter. But let's begin with 3 deep breaths in. And on your exhale, just loosen your body up a little bit. Yeah, get comfortable. And every breath out, just relaxing a little bit more into your chair. Feel the ground underneath you. I want you to, in your mind's eye, picture a golden, bright light at the center of your heart. See the light flicker, allowing it to expand just a little bit. Allow this golden light in your heart to expand outwards in your body, filling your chest space. Feel the warmth of it. And let it fill up your body. From your fingertips to your toes. And keep the light right there. Notice how it wants to expand. The light wants to expand more and more. But in your mind, keep it inside your body. Notice how it wants to shoot out of your fingertips and your toes. All over. And with your next breath, allow it to expand. In your mind, let it fill the whole space of your mind, all the corners. Love and light just wants to expand effortlessly. Your only task here is not to interfere. And whatever comes to your mind in the next couple moments here, allow the light to fill that as well, whether it's a situation or a person. Let the light of love touch whatever comes to your mind. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's your mom. Whatever that comes to your mind, allow the light of love to touch it. Effortlessly, without your participation, light continues to expand. And as that continues to expand outwards, begin to just say thank you for the experience itself. Recognizing that the light passes through you, touches others. It cannot be stopped. And from this space, we bless the world, knowing that light will touch all conflicts, all wars. All suffering ceases. And hold on to that vision. Carry it with you. And start to bring your breath back, bring your awareness back to your breath. Move your fingers around. Move your butt. And welcome to another Sunday morning miracle. Thank you all for joining. You're all amazing. Welcome, everyone. So today, I'm going to start with a topic, but I would love for everyone to share and contribute to this conversation. So even if you're watching live on Instagram or LinkedIn or any of the socials, you can still chime in on the conversation. And even your just witnessing and watching actually shifts this whole talk this morning. Right? Like the way that we witness something actually changes how it behaves. So as you guys are all participating here, just by witnessing, just by being here, you are already contributing. And Betty, oh my God, Betty's back. And I hope you feel better from COVID. So with your love and your blessings, let's begin this conversation here this morning on trust and empathy. Okay, so I don't want to start by sharing on this. I would love to hear if anybody has any thoughts on these two words, trust and empathy.
This is the word that my wife taught me I need to learn.
Interesting.
I actually went to started working with an amazing psychologist. He's originally from Africa. She told me when I teach like golf, that's when I'm empathetic. But otherwise, I don't know empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned is empathy is it's not about being rational or trying to understand. I'd try to use rational and like either data or stuff and because I'd be right in a way. But empathy is putting yourself in their position and feeling what they feel and connecting with them from their point of view and feeling that, not trying to say, well, that's not right and this is the reason for it and I have the facts to back it up.
Mm.
So that's putting yourself in their perspective and feeling empathetic towards them to understand them where they're coming from and meet them on their grounds is kind of the starting point of one of the kind of discoveries I learned about empathy through that journey.
Awesome. So let me ask you, if somebody was hurting and feeling a lot of pain, how does empathy play into that space?
Acknowledging them, asking, connecting with them about their pain, being there to support them through their pain.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's clearly I still have a long ways to go.
So here's the thing, like the answer, right? Like we all know the answer inside, but there's something else that gets in the way. It's like the light wanting to leave and we're holding it with something, right? Like truth is very effortless. We know it and we can recognize it. When we see truth, we can feel it. We know it's there. We know this is truth. And then there are things that come up, worldly things, which we will get into today, that he says, and you suffer. That gets in the way, that stops the flow of that light. Like we want to hold on to it and we want to understand it. We want to be able to explain it. Right. So we're gonna go into this conversation. So thank you for sharing. Natalia, did you have your hand up that you wanted to share something?
Yeah, I was thinking, so at first or before, I would think empathy is like relating and putting myself in the shoes of somebody else. And then studying the course and seeing that the world as I have it is exactly 180 degrees as it is. And so I feel like empathy would be the opposite of relating to somebody else's suffering or pain, but rather really seeing the light within them. And, or like when somebody's sick, as opposed to reinforcing the pain, the suffering, the sickness, is really seeing them as a child of God and knowing that all of that is an illusion and that it's not true. And so when somebody sees the light in me and they recognize it when I do not, that's actually when I heal, when I see that all of that is not real. And so I feel like that's really empathy. When somebody can see the light within me when I am not. And so in turn, when I do that with another brother or sister, that's truly empathizing. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting. So McGenna on LinkedIn also says, trust, a lifetime to earn it, a second to lose it. This is very interesting. So I actually want to begin there. I want to begin on this conversation. So the world, the way that the world, everything that we say can show us what we believe in more. Is it the world or is it spirit, heaven, whatever you want to call it? Is it God? Is it truth? But there is a way that we can begin to see where our mind is at. So I want, when it leads to some sort of scarcity, like there isn't going to be more of it, then we get to we can see where that is. So in the world, the way the world has trust is it always is based on external factors. It's on people, it's on situations, institutions, circumstances. We put trust in a lot of those things that are outside of us. You can actually break my trust. We ended up last week talking about special relationships, and this is one way in which we create it. That people, things, all of that can actually break my trust. And because I think they can break my trust, that means trust becomes a special thing. That now I need to earn someone's trust. And it's going to take a long time because of this cycle of pain and judgment and attack that we talked about last week. Right? How that is created. So now I think it's harder for me to trust. And trust is based on perceptions of things, right? How long does it take for me to trust you with $2? Not that long. How long does it take for me to trust you with 2,000? More. How long does it take for me to trust you with 2 million? Never. Right? So it's based on this is the trust being based on those things. I wanted to give you guys an example on how trust works in the world. And so the goal here with the course, like all things, is to take it from material, from the world, to heaven. Not that it needs to show up tangibly to give us an answer, but oftentimes we experience it. To trust is to be in our natural state. Why? Because you plant a seed in the ground, the seed just grows into what it's going to grow into. an embryo turns into a baby. It's just going to do that. Because there is a divine orchestration, a divine love that is happening. So trust really, for us to recognize how the world has it, and everything that the way the world has, because it creates special relationships and it creates separation, we have to turn it and put it on its head and see how heaven sees it. See, the world is all upside down of the kingdom. Okay, so this trust that I'm trying to touch upon is rooted in divine love and that level of trust. How you nurture it. So the way that the course says is it's not that we can't trust ourselves. But there's a level of humility in the course that starts to teach us that what you know about anything is so minuscule. That humility is actually recognizing and accepting the fact that one does not know. It could be interpreted as surrendering to the divine wisdom and a detachment to ego's interpretation of the world. It could be. And you can interpret trust and surrender in your own ways. But most of us are in our world today are really understanding that there is a trust and surrender that gets to happen. There are things that will happen in our life that is out of our control, and there is nothing left to do besides trust. Actually, no, I take that back. There's two things. One, you can worry, or two, you can trust. Now, how do we practice and strengthen our trust muscles or our worry muscles? The way anything is strengthened is in giving it attention and not interrupting it. So worry seems to come natural, but it isn't natural. A baby doesn't just wake up and start worrying. Worrying is the attachment of all the worldly things that we've kind of brought onto. Right? So it isn't by putting it out there. There's two things. Right? And you can choose. This is a choice. Ultimately, it's a choice. Hey, Shirley. It's so good to see you back and love to see all the things that you're up to. And, congratulations to all the people. Actually, you know what? I want to pause on that for a second and just say, congratulations to all the people that I feel like are on the come up and are actually like being put on stages and putting other people on stages and starting podcasts and all those amazing things. I think there is a camaraderie that is starting to show up, at least in my space. I see that a lot, and I'm seeing people coming together. I know I meet so many people, and then I see them coming together and doing really cool things, and and speaking on stages and all that. And Brooke too. Thank you. Awesome, Brooke. Congratulations. All of you guys doing big things. So
Thanks, Boo.
so
Right now. I try to photobomb her because you just gave her a shout out. We're together for 10 days. I'm like, let me go put my face on there. She's on IG and I'm on Zoom. So
cool. Awesome. All right. So back to the conversation of trust and empathy, right? So trust, we're on trust right now. So trust really comes down to, again, we left off on there's two things that can happen. One, we can worry, right? When things are completely out of our hands, there's just nothing left we can do. We've done everything that we possibly could. And then it's just left to what? There's only waiting and seeing what's going to happen. And you can trust it and experience a space of peace. You can experience peace, or you can worry and experience something else that actually adds to sickness and illness in our body, right? That worrying and stressing. But it takes practice. This is not, we've been conditioned to worry. We've been conditioned to, this is not good enough and you're not good enough. The limitations put on us, right? The opening meditation was to see that light wants to extend out of us and we hold it back. Our own stories and our own limitations hold us back from shining the light that we can be when light just wants to extend. There's nothing you need to do. The only thing you need to do is nothing, is don't interfere with the light that wants to extend outwards. The right people will show up in front of you. The right things are supposed to happen. You're supposed to learn from all these things. And the learning is all on surrendering and trusting. Every single thing that happens in your life is leading you to the opportunity to learn that there is nothing else to do but to trust. And last week we talked about how anytime we withhold love, we are interfering. So think about where we have objections of love being extended, of forgiveness being extended, whether it be in our thoughts or in our words or our actions or what we say online. Right? And today it's just such an amazing opportunity for all of us to be able to witness it, because there is a huge war happening. Not only is it happening in the countries, but it's also happening everywhere. It's happening in front of you on your Facebook. It's happening on the road, the way people drive, the way people are with each other. Or like any warring thoughts. This war in the world should show us where our warring thoughts are. You know? And so that level of trust, can I lay down and close my eyes and be okay with trust and just surrender to what is? That level of trust requires us to really see something that isn't there right now. So the whole faith part, right? We trust that when we go to sleep at night that we're going to wake up the next morning. Yeah. Most of us, we're not like going to sleep like freaking out and worrying, oh my God, I'm not going to wake up in the morning. And trust, like we can take the material things in our world and use it to show us our level of trust and our level of special relationships we've created with each thing, whether it be money or people or, you know, all this stuff. Man, it's crazy. So that's trust a little bit. I'll continue opening this conversation up for everybody in a second here. Empathy. You know, we talked about empathy. So empathy, the Course says, true empathy does not mean to join in suffering, for that is what you must refuse to understand. See, a lot of us in the world have a special relationship to suffering. We actually get something out of suffering. And we get something out of joining somebody in suffering. This is the whole suffering bonding that happens. Our relationship is special because we suffer together. So, you know, that is the ego's. Remember, anytime we create special relationships, it's the ego's interpretation of coming together. Right? The ego views empathy as sharing in suffering. Let's share in suffering. And oh my God, I knew she was going to come. McKenna, where are you at? It's about time that you don't just keep messaging on LinkedIn and come over here and join us live. There she is. I knew you were coming. Welcome, McKenna. Go ahead, Jason. You were saying something?
No, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like the last few weeks, she's on LinkedIn. It's like, come on, get over here. We want you with us here.
Yeah. So.
And that goes into how much love and empathy and trust there is in this everyone, Jenna, smiles, and I felt it. I felt every single energy.
Well, you light up the room, so welcome. Okay, so continue on this conversation of empathy, and I like you guys to, as we're sharing and thinking, whatever comes up in your mind about these two conversations, you know, it's meant to be in this space and probably meant to be shared, but it's also up to you how you want to. Sorry, my dog just started eating tape. 1 second. Wow, look at that level of trust. She just decided that she was going to do it right in front of me, too. She's trying to say something. Don't worry, we're going to go out. We're going to feed you, and we'll play in a second. All right, so back to empathy. Empathy is not to join in suffering with, because that provides and forms a special relationship in our relationships with people, right? True empathy, the Course describes as coming from the trust, the understanding of that there is nothing we really need to do, right? That there's a frequency that runs everything, and it's and we're all connected to it. So we don't technically have to interfere with anyone else's curriculums. Wherever they're at, let them be there. See, that level of trust and divine understanding allows us to really be empathetic, because we can see, oh, my brother and my sister here is at this step of his healing, or this is the opportunity that is available. And I get to just be a safe space for them to explore that. You know, to be empathetic in that way, not to join in the suffering and be right about something. Because oftentimes when you join in the suffering, what you start to do is you start to project your own past traumas and sufferings into the space. And then you guys just start making that more real, right? Empathy is, yes, I can see where you're at. I can see where we can all see that. And also being able to see that this is a story. And this is how the Holy Spirit sees us and helps us, is on one hand knows that we believe in our own illusions so much and the illusions of this world so much. But on the other hand, the Holy Spirit also knows the truth, which is we never actually left the kingdom of heaven. That peace and love reigns right now, even though we don't see it. It is here. You could be in the midst of the biggest fight of your life with your partner, and love and peace is still right here. Okay, so then the question comes down to, wait, am I committed to being right about the way that I have something? Or am I committed to peace? Right. Okay. Hey, Lene.
Hi.
Hi.
I took my granddaughter, who I adopted when she was 2. She decided that she needed to go to rehab. So I took her to rehab on Thursday. She'll be there for 2 months. And my empathy, I guess, would be that I trust that she is in the right place and she will be able to make the right decisions and to move forward in her life. Thank you.
Yeah. And that requires so much trust, right? So much trust that, like, oh, this is her path. Like, I can interfere and be like, no, do it, don't do it, whatever. And that's what we want to do as parents and as friends and, you know, just people in general. Like, we want to be helping others and guide them. But what the humility comes down to is, man, I don't even perceive my own best interest. How the hell do I even know what you're supposed to be doing? Right? I can't play God. I've viewed and experienced the world from a little tiny pinhole of my own life. And we talked a little bit about the last week. It was the laws of chaos. Right? Laws of chaos is everyone has a truth. If everyone's got a truth, this is why we're always battling. Everyone's got a truth with a lowercase t. Yes, it's true for you. Yes, it's right for you. But there is a truth with a capital T, and when we are in the presence of it, we can recognize it. Maybe it's glimpses. Maybe people hold on to it just for moments. As long as we're in a meat suit, it's hopeless. So don't even think we're gonna come to it. You don't have to come to judge yourself or compare yourself to, oh my God, when am I gonna be conscious? When am I gonna be enlightened? All of that stuff. When am I gonna be healed and forgiven forever? No, as long as you're here, this is the game. The game is every moment it requires you to choose. The last moment has nothing to do with this moment anymore. And it's hard for us because as we are involved in the world here, we can only grab past things. This is why it's not the truth. See, the only truth is that the past is no longer here. That's the one thing we can be sure about, I think. I'm not even sure about that one, actually. So we can't be sure about it. But it isn't here, right? There's just right now. Right here, right now, how will I choose to show up as me? How close will I be around truth? See, again, it's like what the Course says. Truth or love is something that is beyond what can be taught. That means I cannot teach it to you. Nobody can teach it to you. But it is our curriculum to experience it. It is our curriculum to find all the blockages that we have created and all the barriers we have created to withhold truth and withhold love. Now, it's easier. The ego's like, just blame that, blame this person. That's not right. This is not right. There is nothing to learn when you are in judgment. There is no opportunity to learn. The opportunity to learn is to see, oh, I'm about to judge this person and I interrupted it. Ooh, what's that? What about it in me has me think that? What about the past that I've attached to? What special relationships have I created where I can now break the chain? See, we want to be the chain breakers. We want to break the chain of the suffering that we joined into. When we're babies growing up, some parts of it it was probably involuntary, right? I mean, we were just like chilling inside a nice like embryo, like life is good, we're in the kingdom where there's nothing to do, and then bam, we get yanked out of something, and then it's this big light, and there's tons of trauma probably that could come from that, right? As a baby comes into this world. I hear people say that trauma still is going on in their life now. But it only is happening because we choose to let it. It's not in our DNA to just suffer. It's because this moment I choose that story as the crutch, as the scapegoat to how I'm behaving or how I'm withholding love right now. You see, the past has nothing to do with this moment and how you show up and how you are in relationship to people. But there is a choice that we have, and it's how much love we're withholding, how much judgment is exuding out of us. Abdullah, what's up, brother? Welcome. Hope you're back in the States. We get to chat. Yeah, so empathy ultimately is not to join in suffering with somebody. It's to recognize that suffering is existing right now because there are blockages. And when I see it, I can look at where in myself that is still real, because it must be real in me for me to even see it. Oof, that goes even further now. It's like, how far does it go? That goes nowhere besides right here. That's as far as it goes. And we're just taking it all back. We've given our power over to everything. And it's time to look at the world in a way that is, where did I give my power over to? Where am I blaming something for my pains and my suffering and my worry? Also, where am I giving the source of my happiness and joy to as well? I feel love when my wife does this for me. And then the other thing is to be the advice, I guess, for A Course in Miracles and for anything that we learn is, the ego will try to weaponize this. The ego will try and weaponize the things that we are learning today and project it onto others. So try here today to allow the information in and do nothing with it. You need do nothing. See, that's the level of humility. What am I supposed to do with it? All I'm doing is I'm remembering something. And if I can just let light and love extend out of me, I don't need to do anything. The sight, the witnessing, and the being around light and love automatically enrolls them into it. I don't need to say words. I don't need to do anything. Just by listening, you can change somebody's life. You can change their thoughts. You can change the way things are behaving right around you just by listening. Okay, so Donna, go ahead.
Morning, everyone. So I had a real breakthrough this week, and I wanted to share it here because, for the longest time, I just kept wondering, like, why am I just stuck in this groove, like on a record player, just stuck playing the same old song?
Mm-hmm.
And it occurred to me that, there's a younger part of myself that, I'll just say it, was abused. And that part of me comes forward whenever I feel threatened, because that's the practice that I've had. And so, recently I can separate it now, but it's really about having empathy for that younger part of myself. To say, okay, we understand why you get defensive or feel like you need to lash out sometimes. But so it's like starting to recognize that part of me and starting to have empathy and compassion for the younger part of me, and the self-love to say, okay, I'll walk side by side with you. I can take it from here. Those kind of things.
Wow.
I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'll read something from the Course just to evoke more of this conversation of what the Course says about what true empathy is. Right. So this chapter is chapter 16 in the Course in Miracles. That is actually called the forgiveness of illusions. See, first, we must recognize that there are illusions. We don't even want to recognize that. We're going to fight for things. Our world, every single thing is transient and is changing and is withering away. That's the problem. See, that's the thing about this world, and why scarcity exists is because if we don't tend to something, it withers away. If we don't tend and mind our money, it starts to wither away. If we don't tend our marriage and our relationships, it will wither away. The weeds are always growing in your garden. That is what we can see. Now, there are two, I don't want to make too much importance of both things, but the way you want to experience this world, yes, we get to tend to things, but we get to also see that that isn't the truth. Like, we can have fun with it. This is why I always, when people are asking, what's the last advice that you got for someone? Just have fun in what you're doing. Whatever you choose to do, if it's not fun, don't do it. But fun and joy is a choice. I can have fun and joy in washing dishes. I always go back to washing dishes because this is my practice, I guess. Right? Because growing up, washing dishes. I would get my allowance if I washed dishes. Now, it's really weird when we were Asian families, we have a dishwasher, but we never use it to wash dishes. It is a drying rack only. Like the sticker is still on there 15 years later, which is crazy. And then it's only when I started living by myself, I'm like, why the heck do we ever not use the dishwasher? Now everything, I'm washing the dishes all the time. All I do is rinse it off and put it in there and then start it. I'm like, this is great. Right? But growing up, it was like this was a chore to do. So I don't know if I was conditioned to not like doing dishes. But I can choose to enjoy it, right? So this is what I'm saying. Like, it's not like, oh, well, I don't like to pay bills, so I'm not having joy, I'm not doing it. It's the recognition that you can choose that there is joy in discipline, there is freedom in discipline. Okay, so let me go back to reading. I said I was going to read and I didn't read anything. All right, so chapter 16, the second paragraph of True Empathy says the clearest proof that empathy, as the ego uses it, proves that empathy, as the ego uses, is destructive, lies in the fact that it applies only to certain types of problems and certain people. This relates back to where we withhold love. There are people that I can stand, and there are people that I can't. There are people that when they go through something, I'm very empathetic to. And there are people that are doing something that I have zero empathy for. I actually just have annoyance for. And the more we actually are in relationship with people, this is why relationships wither if you don't work on it, if you don't work on yourself. Right, the first time you see somebody sad, or maybe it's someone that cries a lot, right? And the first time you see them, oh, don't cry, and you can feel like you're compassionate with them. And then the 10th time is like, dude, can you freaking stop? Right? Where does our love go, and where's our compassion go? On the 10th time, the 100th time. And this is part of that work that we also get to do with ourselves. So the fact that certain types of problems and certain people, I would even say in certain times, right? These it selects out and joins with, and never joins except to strengthen itself. So the ego is always trying to strengthen itself. And how do we strengthen again? We just give power. We just give thought and energy too. So our conversations, again, we go back to that, like there's two things that we can do. We can worry or we can trust. How do you strengthen one over the other? You just give it more power and more energy. You allow yourself to dwell in the worrying more and more. It's almost like trusting takes effort and worrying takes none. Because our muscles have grown so strong with worrying. And so it's going to take us like really being dedicated to trust. This is why the Course says you have to be vigilant for the kingdom of heaven. Because it's too easy to let the ego just go rampant. So having identified with what it thinks it understands, the ego sees itself and will increase itself by sharing what it likes, but what is like itself. Make no mistake about this maneuver, the ego always emphasizes to weaken, and to weaken is always to attack. Weakening you. Remember, again, every time special relationships happen, you are weakening yourself just a little bit and a little bit. Special hate. It's your fault that I'm upset right now. Right? And we can literally look at our intimate relationships with our partners and with our family. People that are closest to us, we can see it right there in how we do relationships and where we give power over. You show up to family holiday dinner. You already know who's going to trigger you and who's not, who you can stand and who you can't stand. All the withholding and judgments that happen even before I show up to dinner. So when you show up to dinner, there is no other way that things can show up besides what you created. That's our power. But we're not recognizing the power. We're actually giving those powers away as we go. Here it is. She's about to talk about this and say this, and it's going to piss me off. like she's got the power to do that to you, right? We just gave it away. And it's the same thing with trust. People can break my trust. Just give it away. It's not that the trust is actually broken. It's just me giving my power away. Same thing on the other side. Yes, if I get a raise, I'm going to be so happy. Now my happiness is attached to something else, giving the power away. If my wife does X, Y, and Z, then I will finally feel like I don't have worries and anxiety. Giving it away. And when she does, oh my God, look, it's here again. My worry didn't go anywhere. I actually just worry about more shit now because I practice worrying. Cutting those cords and breaking those chains is the name of the game. Every single day, you will be presented with tons and tons and tons of opportunities to recognize that. But you have to be vigilant to play that game. You do not know what empathizing means. Yet this you may be sure. If you will merely sit quietly by and let the Holy Spirit relate through you, you will empathize with strength and will gain in strength, not in weakness. See, the Holy Spirit, the Course says, is here to give you strength, to show you, not to give you strength like you didn't have, but to help you reinforce the remembering of the strength that is in you. Now, going through really tough times, I've hit rock bottom a couple times. I don't know if I hit rock bottom, but in my mind, I think I did with certain things, right? And it came from relationships that I was heartbroken from losing, people in my life, from losing all my money, having it and then losing it all, and losing even more than what I didn't even have. Like that. I'm like, okay, well, what I learned was how resilient I was and how in a moment's choice, things change. I'm trying to even, I try to tell this story a couple times, but I'm not even sure exactly where that change completely happened. Where was the tipping point of me being a victim to everything to me gaining my power back? I don't know. I don't know where along the lines it was, but I know A Course in Miracles played a big pivotal part in that era of my time. The trainings also created that. Yes, when my dad died as well. Betty, you know my dad. Yeah. And then also, so look, Betty's father also passed away. Like, do we join in the suffering? Do we create a special relationship over suffering? No, we don't need to do that. But we can love up on each other for having that, right? For knowing, I know how you feel, but in a way that's not like, let's suffer together. Let's use this to be a crutch for everything that we do. Let's justify our inability to love and our withholding of love because of that event together. Right? And yeah, I don't know the cause of death, or I don't really know exactly what happened. And I will never actually know what my dad was actually going through because he died super young. But what the Holy Spirit says is that here is the one thing that you need to know. Focus your mind only on this. I am not alone, and I will not intrude the past upon my guests. I have invited him, and he is here. I need to do nothing except not to interfere. Whoa, that freaking rhymed. That's funny. I didn't know the Course actually had little rhyming things like that. I need do nothing except not to interfere. Must be because Steve's here. Steve's here. The Course is trying to spit some bars for you. Okay. Thoughts? Anybody would like to share or say anything?
I just want to ask if you could
repeat that last part that rhymes, not because it rhymes, but because it rhymes, because rhymes help me constitute things to memory.
Okay.
It's a good mnemonic tool.
So I have invited him, and he is here. I need do nothing except not to interfere. I'll bring it to the ceremony next time. We'll make a song out of it.
Fire.
Yeah. Fire. All right. What other
What page is that?
331.
Great, thank you.
331. Chapter 16. True empathy. All right. Shall we see what Marianne has to do with this? I find it easy to lose oneself in others' suffering. Yeah, for sure. It's very easy to, like oh man, Deborah. So I heard your story too, and it really, I got to go along and hear your story. And I felt it in my heart, but I also saw that, what I heard out of your story was that you were able to also see this 100% of yourself and of somebody else. And it took some going through the fire. But I also recognize and know that going through the fire is sometimes part of our journey. I do not need to be a part of it. I don't need to put it out for you, nor do I need to put fuel to it for you. I can witness. And I can love you for being in the fire, for going through what you're going through. And I can hold that space. Let's see what Marianne has to say. Oh, wow, it keeps going back to this. I read this before and I flipped to it, and then I closed it again and I opened it and it's there again. Crazy. Okay. So day 248, Marianne says, all of us are special and none of us are special. Every heart is filled with a blazing potential for greatness. Everyone carries the same eternal spark, the same seed of God within us. Everyone is equal at the deepest level of our souls. Today, may I recognize everyone as brothers or sisters on my journey through life, struggling as I struggle and yearning as I yearn. May I extend my compassion I wish to feel from others to everyone I meet. May my eyes thus be open to the truth beyond the veil. Dear God, may I cast no one out of my heart today. May I see everyone as my brother in light and my companion along the way. May I see in all of us the truth of you. Amen. So yeah, carrying this, like, this truth, right? We don't know how long we can carry it, but carry it with us. That's why in the beginning I was like, the vision, right? The vision of the light, just wanting to extend always and touching everyone without your interference. It just wants to go. Light and love just wants to go. You don't need to guide it. The more you try to guide it, the more you lose sight of it yourself. That's why the Course says miracles should not be under conscious control. If you try to control miracles, it becomes distorted. Let me see if I can find it exactly in those the words, right? Whoa. My book is so underlined and written all over that I can't even see this stuff right now. Okay. Anyone want to share anything before?
Something's pretty interesting with what you had to say about giving the love to you said, whether it's your mother or whoever jumps into your mind. I'll share something that's personal that I'm going through. So I have a friend who's super successful, mentored me, but I feel like there's definitely underlying manipulative behavior with this friend. So I was kind of weary on doing business. I introduced them to my business partner, and my business partner said, "Hey, like they're kind of pushed by the ego, but they're very loyal, and we could definitely do business with this person. Like, don't worry." Their values are good, but when I disconnect from someone, it's because I'm taking up too much mental space in my mind of them that's negative, like trying to figure something out or just negative stuff when I'm thinking about them too much. And I almost want to disconnect from this person. But when you said you need to give them more love, is a new, interesting way of considering it. And my partner said, once we work with them, we will surround them with helping people and love and that stuff, and they will resonate more with us. So I'm been kind of battling mentally, dealing with this person, and kind of wanting to disconnect. But with what you said, sending love, and with what my partner said, it's just really interesting. And even with the underlying manipulative behavior that I'm seeing and kind of controlling behavior, it just doesn't sit well with me. And then I forget, you said something about I forget. Yeah. I'll leave it there before I go deeper.
So again, projection makes perception. Okay, what you perceive is not what's actually happening. This is the level of humility we have to have, is that we're not even perceiving what's happening. There's a part of us that needs to recognize so many things are happening. I cannot possibly see why this person is behaving or saying what the person is saying. But my only job is to look beyond what I am perceiving to the light that also exudes and is touched by this person. Beyond the words that come out of their mouth, beyond the actions that they take, can I see, the Course calls it Christ consciousness. We can call it the light. Every religion, every teaching around the world, every spiritual teaching talks about this. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Avatar, I see you, right? Like beyond what you're even saying in your words and actions, I really see you. Like, what does that mean when I see you? It's seeing the Holy Spirit, the Christ consciousness that lives and is operating inside each one of us. So, projection makes perception. That means what I'm perceiving of this person's control and manipulations, it's real in my mind, and that's why I see it. So the work is here for me. It's not that what they're operating is, see, we give power over to them. Oh, if I stay away from them, I disconnect from them, then I won't see it anymore. No, you will see it in somebody else. I promise you that. All right, Lyra, thank you for being here. Have a great day too. Right? So bringing that back, this is about owning the power back again. Is that this whole idea of manipulation and control and all of this, it exists in my mind because I have fear, guilt, shame, or doubt, or anxiety, or something around it. That's where we get to do the work. And the work is to let me give it over to the Holy Spirit. I don't need to overcome it. If I try to overcome it, what I do is I give this thing more energy and more power, and then I start to see it in more people. Let me just give it over. All right, let me give it over. It's like, I don't know what to do with it. See, that humility comes again. I don't know. I don't know, God. I don't know, Spirit. Is this control manipulation? It's probably super distorted in my mind. Here you go. Take it. That's the constant practice of, people give you recognition, acknowledgement, give it over to God. Right? And then just, if somebody says something that is that you think is an attack or a judgment on you, give it over to God. But once the ego grabs onto it, it's time for war. Right? And that's what we get to witness and recognize this playing out in ourselves. Where is the ego going to war? Ready to go to war. Right? And we start to mind the things that are in our minds, and then what comes out of our mouth. Because a lot of times what happens is things come out of our mouth too fast, and because we don't have the practice of letting go, now even if we don't agree with what we just said, we have to go and defend it. And then we go through this whole cycle of defense, attack, judgment, blah, 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 all that stuff. All right. Javier, go ahead, brother.
Thank you so much. Hey, thank you so much, for the meeting. And you guys for sure what you have been sharing is so like perfect matching to where I'm going to right now. So I want to say two things. I will try to be very brief. And then I appreciate Jason bringing this because I'm dealing with something kind of similar with my stepfather because he lost our older brother like 2 months ago because of smoking. And then coincidentally, I'm visiting the guys nowadays. So I'm supposed to be the psychologist of the family, but I feel like a patient too, you know, because I have a lot of religion about it, but it's like overwhelming what I'm trying to control, as you said. So, and then I appreciate this because when you guys started talking about love like a month ago, I remember feeling that love for my stepfather, and then all of a sudden, I didn't have to manipulate, like you say, anything. You know, he just changed toward me, and we were able to be honest, like talking, you know, like, hey, and feel love, and he noticed that I was feeling love for him because he looked at me with love too. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so great because I remember Jessica talking about Donna, another friend, and you, Alex, mainly, you know, like, hey, you know, feel the love and don't try to control it. And, you know, it was so effective. So I believe that with Jason will be very effective if he, because he's such a sharp and smart man too, if he can just like feel the love and put it up front, I believe that will be super effective. So thanks to Alex for bringing and you, Jason, too. And the other thing really quick, you know, when I studied psychology, it was something so interesting. So really quick, sorry guys, I noticed that my computer lost the battery, so I just also don't want to disconnect because all of a sudden it disconnects. So very quick, sorry about that. And it helps me to decompress my emotions. Really, let me just connect. Okay, I'm back. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So just want to let you know, guys, this what happened was when I studied psychology. I researched about the importance of analysis. This is amazing. The importance of empathy, because they saw that in thousands of people that were murdered, when they checked the part of the brain that was related with the empathy, it wasn't developed. And then when I started asking people, hey, what was your like? What was like when you were a kid? They didn't have trust in their family, so they didn't develop empathy. So when there was time to kill someone, they didn't, because they didn't have that developed. It was easier to kill someone. So I find this so amazing, Alex, because you brought trust and empathy at the same time, and this is the wow. This is just like an inside of war. That was what I saw years ago. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, there are a couple things, and thank you for sharing, because as you were sharing, it provided an opportunity for me. Actually, there was something you were sharing with, you know, how you're like, when I thought about love with my dad, and I didn't have to do anything, and he just kind of opened up, and you guys had this loving conversation or whatever. I can feel there's like hairs that would stand up, and I can feel something move in my chest. You know, those are the moments that the body is the teaching device for your mind, not the other way around. The body thinks that the mind is the teaching device for the body, but the purpose of the body is that the body is a teaching device. It's not the end all be all. See, we actually give all of our powers to our physical body. And this is why we go into everything if somebody physically harmed me, like, they are never, ever to be forgiven. You know, I have, there is somebody in our ACIM community that was kidnapped and raped and was hung and you know, for whatever amount of time. And her story is amazing. I'm going to find her for sure. And, you know, she said that she remembered that her watch fell off of her hand while that was happening. All she kept thinking about was trying to grab that watch while she was being abused, you know? And she somehow escaped, and I don't know the whole full story of it, but she left the country. She left the country. And that's a trauma on the body, but she was able to, in her mind, actually forgive this person because she needed to move forward, not for him, but for her. So she went back to her country, and guess who she runs into? She runs into this guy, like, whatever, 10 years, 15 years later. And he has been searching for her for like 10 years, like an obsession of trying to at least share how he felt and how his life has just been dedicated to finding her, to get her forgiveness. And she was like, "Oh, I forgave you already." And it's like, think about how that level of love that is in that space, that is possible, that can exist. See, in the realm of all possibilities, that is possible, right? But for most of us, it's outrageous. No way. An eye for an eye. They should be hung, killed, sentenced to death forever. Jail forever and sentenced to death. And that's the level, but that's the level of hostility and attack that we're all capable of. We are all, the book that I mentioned a couple times that Love and I have been reading, it says that we are all capable of murder. And from that space, can we be compassionate to the people that are actually acting on it? I know it's a stretch. I know I'm pushing it now. I'm pushing this conversation. But I think we can go there. Right? Let's discover, let's be in curiosity rather than in judgment and comparison right now. Let's be in discovery of the depth of our capacity to love and to forgive. Now think about what she went through, that story, versus some of the things that you're holding on to that you can't forgive. That puts some perspective into the way we do relationships and where we're holding love. Because every time you withhold love, you are the one that is getting hurt. You are hurting yourself. Okay, let's see. What'd you guys think? What? Antoine, go ahead. I'm waiting for you to share. Drop us some knowledge.
Oh boy. Always grateful for you creating this space for us to come together and touch on points that are very intimate in our mind. So I've been going through this new paradigm that I'm trying to hold on to, which is that we are first a spirit living in this body, and using that as a highway of a lifestyle. And listening to the call today, and when you use terminologies like invite the Holy Spirit into something, like give it up to the Holy Spirit. It brings me to that spiritual level that I'm first a spirit, and yes, everything that I want to do, I trust the Lord will make it happen. When the Lord's gonna bless you, people come in your life, things just happening, you cannot control it. I understand that force. The challenge I'm having is that ego. Yes, I can associate my ego to when I'm having doubts or fear and things like that. And it messes also with my daily goal setting. If I'm trying to set a goal, I want to own so much assets so I can be financially free. I want to help people. Of course, there's some self-sabotaging that happens always. And I guess the question would be at this point, when I'm setting goals, obviously that's me. And part of me is like, yeah, allow yourself to imagine big and set this big goal. And the other half of me is like, yeah, it's not gonna happen and so forth. And another part of me is like, well, if you're spirit and the spirit's the one trying to manifest in me, why am I trying to make a choice about what my goal should be and things like that? There's a little bit of I don't know if the word is conflict or self-sabotage, but in the context of today's call with trust and empathy and other types of feelings, I was wondering if you could enlighten us a little bit.
Yeah. So you missed this part a little bit. There is yes, McGenna, you can. There is the light. We called it the light, right? The light in you that wants to extend outwards. And we held it in our hands and in our feet and in our body for a little bit, and just trying to withhold it, right? But also visualizing that it wants to extend outwards to touch more things. Everywhere that we try to hold on to something, there's no need, right? The conversation today is, can we effortlessly be who we're built to be, what we're here to do? Can we effortlessly do it? And the course says, just remember one thing. One, you're not alone. Two, you don't need to really do anything. The only thing you need to do is not to interfere with the light itself. So even the ego and the mind wanting to grasp onto something, you don't need to grasp onto anything, because it's already there. You already have it. The knowledge, the truth in you, you already have it. So we don't have to grab it from anywhere and try to hold on to it. The part of that is, how can I explore in myself? Let me just allow spirit to show me, through the circumstances and the things and the situations happening. And we need no go further to go and help people than simply the people that are around us asking for help now. We're like, oh, let me become financially free so I can help people. Well, there's a ton of people throughout your day and around you right now in your circle that could probably use some help. And it doesn't even have to be money. It's time and energy and presence. The presence to listen to somebody, right? The safe space that you create for people, that is enough. All right, so that's kind of what I would share. Yeah. And McGenna is asking if anybody wants to join Real Women in Real Estate Volume 2 book projects. That'll be fun. So Antoine, okay, go ahead, McGenna.
Not everybody, the women.
Oh yeah, that's what I said, the ladies.
I will respect Antoine because he still has his hand up, but I wanted to share some.
Of course.
I think he's done speaking, maybe.
Yes, I am. Please proceed. Sorry.
Thank you. Not a problem. This word trust it deserves its own mastermind. A full weekend of getting together with thousands of people to talk about it, because initially when I was on LinkedIn and I shared how it takes an eternity to earn trust and a second to destroy it, it was very broad, but at the end of the day, Alex, I am a true believer that we are in full control only if we realize how in control we are, even when it comes to trusting. Because the quote that comes to mind is that bird that is standing on that thin branch, and the trust is not on the branch, but it's in its own wings, because he knows that at any point, if that branch breaks, he can fly and he will be safe. So I feel it's important for us to look internally and sometimes convince ourselves that it starts with us and it ends with us. And when it comes to even trusting, I know we get mad and we say, I'll never trust again, I'll never do this again. And 2 seconds later, you feel something is missing. Wait a second. This is not Migena anymore. I don't feel the same. So there is no way I'm not going to forgive anymore, or trust anymore. I'm going to actually trust some more. So every time we get disappointed, I feel there is an opportunity for us giving birth to ourselves as a stronger self. And the moment we see never this, never that, we actually kill a little bit of ourselves. So I just wanted to share that.
The always and nevers. It used to be a huge fight that my wife and I get into when those words came out. Now it's got to a point that when we say those words in a fight, it becomes comical. Always, never. And we're like, oh, always, never. Okay, got it. And then it just becomes funny. So like, think about, that's a miracle right there, right? At one point, when always and never was viewed as a attack, like, what are you talking about? Taking crazy personal offense to it, to now always nevers as being comical. And it actually disrupts the fighting and the wanting to be right. Because we realize we say it so often, but how insane it is that we even say that. And so it becomes funny. Right. And so now, see, that's two perspectives. See, always never could be funny, always never could be not funny. What's the truth? Right? What's the truth? The truth is, there is love or a call for love. That is all there is right there. On both sides. And neither of those are actual truths. They're what the Course calls perceptions. But one perception gives you the experience of joy and laughter and love. Sorry, the experience of laughter, which is in the frequency of the Holy Spirit, because it's an acceptance, it's a love, right? And then there is the wanting to be right about it, like getting angry. The experience of anger propels the cycle of attack and defense, which is along the ego, creating conflicts and wars and all of that. Right? So yeah, thank you for the share, McKenna. And guys, trust, like she was saying, it is a constant development, right? There's a section in the manual for teachers that we went over 3 weeks ago that was on the development of trust. And yes, that is an entire course on itself. And when you are in trust, there are certain traits that automatically come to you. So we have 11 minutes. I'm just going to share that real quick again as a reminder. I think this is a great conversation. I always go back to this, the development of trust. So there's 5 different steps that happen. I'm not going to go through that right now. But what comes with trust, when you are in the space of trust, comes the traits of honesty, tolerance, gentleness, joy. Actually, I'm going to go back to honesty for a second here, because honesty is another word that we can literally talk about that has a worldly meaning and then also a heavenly meaning. Right? Honesty in worldly meaning is, I'm just going to say how I feel. I'm being authentic. You're not really being authentic. You're just projecting a perception. Nope. So you're just projecting a perception, which is not really honesty, right? Honesty is actually, the Course says, it's consistency. Okay, there's nothing that you can say that contradicts what you think or do. No thought opposes any other thought. No act belies your word, and no word lacks agreement with another. The consistency of that itself is the consistency of love and the consistency of not creating conflict. So honesty is your consistency to create safe space. Versus there's a different worldly honesty, which is, I'm just going to say whatever I want. I don't care if it hurts you. Right? It creates more conflict. This is honesty. That's honesty about an illusion, which is honesty about nothing, which is actually nothing. Okay, so anyways, so other traits that come with trust is joy, defenselessness, generosity, patience, faithfulness, and open-mindedness. All right, each one of these we can do a whole section on. But that's just the development of trust. We can go through that a while, but it's for us to recognize that trust is ultimately, there is God, or whatever you want to call it, that is running the show. And I don't know anything about anything. The humility to understand that I don't know anything about anything, but also humility is also recognizing the light in you and not dimming it yourself. right? There are some laws that exist about ideas and about giving and receiving and about having and keeping things. Like there are some laws in place that actually is in existence, that the more you practice it, the more you will see that it is true, and the more that you can go deeper with it. However, it's all just very simple stuff. It's not easy for us to comprehend because there is a part of us that want to grab onto something. Right? We read a book, we're like, oh, this is the truth here. I grab onto it. Anything else becomes not truth. See, there's a special relationship. That is special love, special me giving my power over to. Right, Betty, even what you were sharing, like something or someone is pissing you off, the fact that they can piss you off, you gave them the power to do so. So it isn't about them changing their behavior, but as me changing the way in which I give my power over to things. All right. Okay, Antoine, go ahead, brother.
There were 5 things you were mentioning. I just wanted to cut to the last 2: honesty, tolerance, joy.
Oh, there was a lot. So faithfulness, open-mindedness, patience, generosity, joy. Now I can't find it.
But I think you were mentioning trust. There were 5 things. I think you said 5.
Oh, there are 5 steps in the development of trust, which we will go over another time. But we went over that like 3 weeks ago. So I think there's a recording somewhere that talks about the development of trust that we went through. It's probably right on my LinkedIn. Tolerance, gentleness. These are the traits that comes with it, right? When you have trust, they automatically come with. And the honesty is to be consistent with all of those. That's the honesty. All right.
I wanted to share an analogy very quickly.
Sure.
I play competitive tennis. My son is also trying to develop in competitive tennis. And there's different levels of competition when you're playing somebody, you're competing at the highest level. And there's this thing that we call being in the zone in tennis, where you're just being you, but you're just floating and everything is at the highest level and you're peaking at that level. And everything you're saying today just reminded me of that, where you just trust that you are who you are and just being who you are. And even though you're on the fire and competing, there's no stress. You're just, honest with yourself, just feeling it, tolerance, just letting it exuberate. And I was just kind of being reminded of that moment as you're describing trust. I just want to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Some people call it flow state. Some people call it, I don't know what they call it. I just know flow, right? Like in basketball, like there's times when you play competitive sports, like I just felt like I couldn't miss. Like I've hit 11 3-pointers in a game before. I'm like, whoa. No matter how I shot the ball, it went in. And it was like, you just knew where the defense was going to move if you moved in a certain way. It was like so in the flow. It was like a dance that was just meant to happen, but you're able to see it before it happens. I don't know. But yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, Antoine. Okay, so we are starting to wrap this up. Thank you all for being a part of it. Go ahead, Steve.
I had a really good question. It's probably going to take you a while to answer.
Go for it. Let's see.
So this has been like a very, 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 very great lesson today. In from a macro, I guess, just looking at everything that was talked about today. How does one make the distinction between what you're saying here today and, say, indifference, stoicism, or something along those lines?
Like being detached or what?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, well, you can be detached and still show love. Right? If you're the thing you get to look at is, am I detaching and withholding, or am I detaching to the stories and still showing love? And I can still meet my brothers and sisters where they're at. I can be empathetic and compassionate, but I don't dive in there. Right. But I can also be detached. Like, I'm sovereign in this space. Like, I have my powers. You don't really take my powers. Right. There's nothing that you can do that actually takes my powers unless I give it to you.
Right.
Okay. So the whole like being indifferent, I don't know. People can do whatever they want. But ultimately, at the end of the day, love will always win. Okay. Like, love will always win. When people experience and feel and have a sense of love, they will do the right things. And that's something that we get to hold on to. Because the world challenges that our world challenges that right there. Is love only my only response to everything? That will be the question to be with, because it doesn't matter if people are disconnected or detached. We can empathize with them. Like, great, I hope you find what you're looking for. Enjoy. It's still, even that itself is still a journey. Enjoy your journey, right? Like, you're in a body, you're in a meat suit. Enjoy your journey. That's the way you want to practice good. Cool. Please share with me your wisdom when you come back from that journey, when we meet again. Right? Like, there's no need to like make sense of any of it because we don't really know anything about it. Maybe that is the path. Maybe it's talking. Maybe it's not talking. Maybe it's to be silent. Who knows what the path really is? But ultimately, does it give you peace? Is the question that you want to ask. What is it for? Is it for peace? For me? Like, even in your asking and seeking of that question, what do I need? What do I want to know the answer for? Right? What is it for?
So for me, right, because this takes me back to like the idea, for instance, of the story of Jesus feeding people with the 2 fish, or like helping those that were in need, or whether it was in need of healing, in need of food, or whatever it was, spiritual understanding, and so in the teaching, and I don't know like the exact wording, but like, say trust that all is handled and everything is okay. We're all dealing with our own internal stories. So my story may have it that the way to show love would be to be the person to go get the meal to give to this person on the street, versus or give them some words of encouragement or whatever it is, or to just sit back, observe, and love them from a distance. Those to me are 3 very distinct things. And I guess from a grander aspect, none of them are wrong or right.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them, in my opinion, apparently coming from my inner perspective and my inner understanding, may seem a certain way, or maybe certain choices may seem like the more compassionate choice, or the more enabling choice, or the more whatever it is. And I think that's where I'm looking, is like, okay, well, if I'm unaffected, but I have compassion from a distance, but I don't jump in to save. Because first of all, like you say, like, who am I really saving? That's the idea that there's need for saving in the first place, and that it isn't all perfect or handled by the creator anything. But just traversing and seeing where for me, or whatever, not for a right answer, but
Here, let me. So your question is long. It's not my answer is long. Your question is long. So your question really needs to be condensed down to, what is it for? What am I doing it for? Am I doing it for my own acknowledgement, to feel good about myself? Or am I doing it so that I really am helping, right? Is this person even asking for help? Or am I just like seeing something and then wanting to interrupt and interfere? Which, like, what is it for? What am I even doing it for? What's my actions for? Right? And that's it. Because you can drive by somebody that's, panhandling and asking for money, and just send them some love. You can see a couple fighting and yelling at each other. You can send love without having to go do anything, because you need do nothing. The same spirit that flows through them is flowing through you. They will handle it. It will be handled somewhat one way or another. Now, can you be okay with, the action that you took? That's what it comes down to. Is it going to bring you peace? Right.
Or can I detach from the idea that I need to do something to
Yeah. So,
initiate something that I wish is already perfect.
like, don't you want to, when you, so one your thing I can see is, like, it's condense your questions a little bit down to the what is it for, right? Because you'll go in circles asking the question and then kind of answering yourself and then asking the question again, and that creates a lot of confusion, right? The question really just comes down to what is it all for, and that's it. When you just go around, when you see something and you're like, oh, I'm about to do, oh, what was it all for? Oh, okay. Because asking that question is asking for spirit to intervene and give you the answers.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
There you go.
That was perfect.
All right, last question, Fraser, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Or comment or thought, whatever.
Well, I was thinking about what you said earlier. It's about not taking it on. So, like, when you say that, and you're not taking on the story yourself, so that it doesn't affect your spiritual. I don't know what the word is. What do you mean by it when you say you're not taking it on to yourself? Like, can you maybe elaborate a little bit?
Yeah. So when you take on and play into a trauma, let's say, all you do is add to it. Like, what's the goal? What is it for? Here, same question. What is it for? Are we gonna just dance around this thing and make this thing bigger and true, or is the goal to overcome it and see the light on the other side? If that's the case, can that happen right now? And then right now, and then right now. Right? Because you're not participating into the story. You can be compassionate and empathetic all you want about it, but I'm just holding a space for you to work through it. But oftentimes what we do is we want to feel like, oh, I want to connect and be liked, and then let me just go into your whole story. And as I'm going into your story, I'm going to project my own traumas into it and making this now a double trauma. And maybe they weren't even thinking about it, but you just added into it, and the trauma becomes more real. Right? So it's like, oh, cool. All right. I see. I feel bad. You don't have to feel bad, but you can say, yeah, I can see where it's coming from. And there's a level of still being like loving and holding space versus just jumping into the whole thing. Right? So yeah, just being understanding, and you practice being understanding and bring things back to peace. You will know how you reacted based on the experience that you feel. Am I at peace, or is after the conversation now I'm in turmoil because I just participate? It doesn't even have to be words that you share. It's now inside me. I feel like there's something undone or unfinished, and I got to go and have this conversation again, right? And I got to go and gossip about it or something. I need to get it out. And that's the experience. Like, afterwards, do I feel more at peace, or do I feel like I'm more in conflict now? And that's all. You just have to feel your experience and let your body be the teaching device. And ultimately, just even if you experience something, you can give it over. The angst and the anxiety. Oh, here we go. Trust, surrender, give it over. And you need do nothing. All right. So, okay. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being a part of this morning's Sunday morning miracles. I feel like, it was beautiful, the space that was created. Thank you all for being here and your contribution. And we'll do this again on Wednesday. All right. And Natalia, maybe you can do next Sunday, because Sunday I will be in Dallas. That would be nice. So letting you know ahead of time, not on like Saturday night,
Not a minute before the call. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right.
Are you in Dallas, you said?
I will be next weekend.
Oh my goodness, are you joining us at the ConnectCon?
No, I will be at this thought council, this Jeffrey Hazlett's thought council.
Oh my goodness, we like at least 50% of our ecosystem will be in Dallas that weekend. So
I know. I'll show up at if you guys do an event or something, a meetup, like I'll be there. I'll come.
Oh my goodness. All right, let me give Alex a relationship 101. If you do something, I will be there. We don't need to do anything for you to be there. So just show up.
All right. I'll reach out.
Be there. Now I know you'll show up for sure.
When you were on LinkedIn, we talked about all getting together in Dallas, and your name was in that getting together conversation on this call earlier.
All right, let's go. Let's create a chat. Let's create a Dallas chat, November 10th. All right.
And anyone else who's here on this call, if you are in Dallas or you plan to be in Dallas next weekend, we will be there as well. Would love to hug some of you who I haven't yet. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, Alex. This was
all right.
amazing.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Have a fantastic Sunday. And hold a vision. I'll see you all later. Bye.
Thanks for great stuff, Alex.